Well, welcome once again and thank you for joining me. We're in Leigh today, which is a little town that's just northeast of Wigan and in between essentially Wigan and Manchester, although saying it's near Manchester is pushing it. It's still a good half hour, 35-minute drive. But I just thought I'd record my little welcome message here out in the lovely wilds near the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, which I'll explain to you as we go along. Let's get cracking. The little civic centre area of the town is bounded by the parish church of St Mary's. Then we have the Turnpike Centre, the library. The town hall, despite having some nice little architectural outbits, is not perhaps the prettiest we've come across thus far. And despite my passion for architecture, as you all well know by now, the town hall is perhaps not the prettiest of buildings. The back of the town hall, I respectfully suggest you don't open up an email and write home. But on the other side, one of my heroes from my youth. They pronounce youth here. The one and only Pete Shelley from the Buzzcocks. There you go, drive out to Leigh, park your car and leave it for the weekend. Let it enjoy itself and you go off and do something else. Interestingly, outside the town hall, there's a Star Walk of Fame. We'll just quickly have a look at some of the names here. John Woods, Rugby League. Richard Waterfield, a baker. NHS key workers, jolly good too, I should think so too. The Leigh Harriers, Joe and Margaret Galvin. Keely Hodgkinson, Olympic champion. And just local people. And some more of the sports winners who have deserved a little star. And one of the more famous residents born and bred here, Georgie Fame and the Blue Fames. Remember them? The Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde? I won't sing it because I might break your screens. Unfortunately, like a lot of little towns, it suffers from Bezos-itis. Lots of little closed down shops. I'll have to go and see if Chubby Checker is around. A nice welcome awaits you here at this charming little compact pub. That is, providing you're not a child or you don't have children. JR's Avacab looks a bit lost there, doesn't he? I promise no cheap jokes about rather evil nurses. And there we go, a nice little dignified country view of the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. In the distance you may be able to see some of the mills. And some old canal working furniture. You can see here that it's locked onto a lock gate. Presumably it would have slipped down there in the old days. And the council have now chosen to take the cheap way out, and instead of employing a security firm, they've employed 2 Canada geese. You have to have some graffiti, don't you? And as we come through and are walking on the former towpath, maybe it's a current towpath, I don't know. There's somebody getting his boat ready for sailing down the canal. And the waterside inn here, I've just been told by somebody who stopped me, is a former small mill, because there are lots of mills, as I mentioned, scattered around the area. As we make our way to Pennington Flash, which will be revealed later on. No, it's not a chap called Pennington standing there in a greasy old black Mac. Leigh is famous for its rich industrial heritage. And it was very famous for making silk and its cotton industries as well in the 20th century. And its red brick mills, they're scattered all around the town, and a lot of them have, as I mentioned, been repurposed. Sadly, those cotton mills that haven't been repurposed are just, unfortunately, laying waste and going to total rack and ruin. As we walk along, I mentioned already Georgie Fame a little bit earlier on, and also Pete Shelley, but other famous people from Leigh include Sir Peter Maxwell Davies. He was a conductor and composer. We had the footballer Roger Hunt, and one thing that not many people realise is that way back in 1985, the Dubai government employed a local businessman, Sir Maurice Flanagan, admittedly he'd been with BOAC, to start up, are you ready for this? Emirates Airlines. Yes, he was the first CEO and he got it off the ground. So if you've any complaints, write to the council in Leigh. No, don't do that, I'm only kidding. On the literary and educational front, Lemon Sissay, the current Chancellor of the Manchester University, or the University of Manchester, he was born here, as was James Hilton, and he wrote Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Oh, here's a Canada goose who spied my bag and thinks I might have something for him. Sorry, Mr. Goose, ain't got anything for you. And this is just really very pleasant. Along the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, you can see an old barge there. Whether or not it's in use, I don't know. And the old quayside as was, well, as still is. Well, as Morrissey used to sing.
Frankly, Mr. Shankly, this position I've held.
I always find something like this fascinating, where you've got a river that the canal actually crosses over. But then little amuses are simple, I suppose. Don't you just adore unbridled optimism? Well, nearly there at Pennington Flash. And cheap joke coming up. Unfortunately, it's a canal, so I have to say, pretend it's a river. Bridge over the river. Why? Sorry, awful joke. Well, you can call me sentimental, as a friend of mine used to say the word, but isn't it lovely to be able to just get out in the countryside and you're just a stone's throw from the centre of Manchester out here. It's just beautiful. As we continue on our merry way, I'm not too sure if these are the 39 steps or not. Film 39 steps, Vivian Leigh. We're in Leigh at the moment. Oh, please yourselves. What is very nice is to see that spring has sprung. Isn't that lovely? Absolutely delightful. And the lovely weather too. Just a little bit of contextual detail to give you an idea of how big this area is. Well, I've just been for a cup of tea here at Pennington. I'm feeling a little bit guilty because the chaps here are, yes, I know, I'm sorry, nothing for you. And this is Pennington Flash, big open body of water, which in the summer is probably absolutely delightful.
I know, but you can give it.
Really is gorgeous. And I'm still being requested for food here by Mr. Swan. And it's a nature reserve, incidentally, by the way. And the little perfunctory, I love that word, perfunctory. There's the cafe. Just absolutely beautiful. And delightful to say, no litter. People are using the bins. Expectantly keeping an eye on me because I've got a bag over my shoulder. And just another little view of this nature reserve. Absolutely delightful. Came across this little structure, the Tom Edmonton hide. And no, he's not in there, but very good they put up this little facility. And that's the view from the hide window. And with full instructions what to do if you're new to the business of bird watching. How brilliant is that? And there's details as to why it's called the Tom Edmonton hide. Not just for the benefit of me being sarcastic. Well, that was a glorious few hours. I stayed much longer than I intended to, and it was wonderful talking with some of the ornithologists as well. What I've done is, in the link in the description, I've put the actual address details and location of Pennington Flash in case anybody is in the area and wants to go and have a cuppa and a relax and maybe feed the birds. Right, let's get along into town and see if we can get a little bit of detail and stuff about Leigh before the sun goes down, or the witching hour, or whatever happens in Leigh on an average afternoon. The Eagle and Child is quite an impressive building. I know a shopping centre's a shopping centre, but let's have a quick look and see what's on offer, shall we? I spy my bus up there, but I shall resist and go for a walk. Well, there's an idea of the opening time, should you wish to come here and shop in all the usual, such as Ryman. I wonder if Theocritus is in, but probably not. Costa. And you have to have a Greggs. I mean, come on, we need a Greggs. And nice, bright shopping centre. I didn't stay long there because there was a job's worth approaching, so I thought, make haste and leave. A shopping centre's just a shopping centre, really. As we approach the main retail shopping thoroughfare, of course, there's a money launderer. There's a Turkish hairdresser's there, and as usual, someone's selling vapes. Oh, there's a Boots. We've got a Boots, wonderful. And it's quite pleasant. It's nice to know you don't get interrupted by traffic. In fairness, most of the shops are open, as in not closed down and vacant. And then we'll go around the other way. And that's the lower part of the town. And yes, if you want to go and have a meal that looks nothing like the advert, there you go. Although the rather famous architect, Mr. Prestwich, who I'd never heard of until I came to the town, lived here, there's not an awful lot to say really about the architecture. This building here is quite interesting. And while certainly during the better weather there's always a little bit of an open market going on the streets, the rather well-known Leigh Market in its own market hall is down here at the bottom. Quite an interesting balcony thing going on up there. If you can't read because of the shadows, it's AD 1906. Oh, yes. I presume, he says, trying to make a cheap joke, that this is where all the washing powder comes from. I don't quite know how they manage next door to one another, but this looks a bit like, I was going to say the sublime to the ridiculous, but, well, I'm not too sure if sublime is a good enough word. But in fairness, at least the local council, the town council, let's say, are trying to do something to revive the town. There's been nothing here that puts a Z on the end of the world where there should be an S, but we've got phone, F-O-N-E, so I'm going to go away a happy bunny. I don't wish to be judgmental, but a grocery store with not many groceries in, well, I wonder what they do with washing machines and £5 notes. What an excellent initiative this is, to get these youngsters, well, I don't think they will, mind you, but to get the youngsters off their phone and get their heads into a book for a change. Very, very good idea. That seems a bit high up to put some braille. Sorry, lousy sense of humour coming up again, but look what I found. Can you believe it? A real butcher in a town. I wonder what the top of this betting emporium was before it became a betting emporium. And this is why colloquially people locally call the discount stores bin shops. So I have to apologise, to be honest. If it wasn't my trip to the nature reserve, my little visit to Leigh would have been, well, disappointing. In fairness, some of the architecture I've missed is scattered far and wide through the town. That is the architecture of Mr. Prestwich. But as I say, when you're doing it on foot, and I've already walked, just looked at my stepometer and it's reading 12,000, and I'm getting a bit weary now, so yeah, time to go. Well, the finish to my day making a video in Leigh was very exciting. Not only the bus I was on has broken down, but the replacement bus has broken down as well. So what this means really is that All these decades later, I was lying to my children when I said that the wheels on the bus go round and round. Sorry, kids. And there you have it. Thank you very much for joining me on my little amble around Pennington Flash and then into the town of Leigh. See you next time.